All right, I want you to picture this. It's a super tense, high stakes moment where literally one single misstep could change the entire course of a nation's history. Today, in this explainer, we are unpacking one of the most absolutely critical counterterrorism operations ever conducted. We're going to be looking at the hunt for a mastermind who operated entirely from the shadows and the incredible lengths that security forces went to just to track him down. So let's get right into the thick of it. Our story starts right here, in July 2003 in Srinagar, and at this time, the city has been turned into an absolute fortress. Heavy Border Security Force, or BSF security, is blanketing every single street because the Indian Prime Minister is scheduled for a visit. So, it's a high-alert environment, nothing is getting through. But during a routine patrol, the BSF Jawans spot something amiss. They see this remarkably thin, pretty ordinary-looking boy walking down a narrow lane. But there's a glaring red flag. In the freezing cold valley weather, thick drops of sweat are just pouring down his nervous face, and his steps are violently faltering. Naturally, the Jawan's sixth sense kicks in, and they stop him. When they unbutton his shirt, the reality becomes terrifyingly clear. This boy, his name was Ansar, sent all the way from Faisalabad, Pakistan, is wired up with heavy RDX explosives, with these tangled circuits running all the way from his chest down to his stomach. He isn't just a boy anymore, he is a walking trigger, literally a suicide bomber with the Prime Minister right in his crosshairs. But here's the thing, Ansar was really just a pawn. The unseen puppet master orchestrating this whole nightmare from the shadows was actually the most feared man in Kashmir, a man known as Ghazi Baba. So to really understand this operation, here is our agenda. First, from militant to mastermind. Second, escaping the radar. Third, cracking the intelligence network. And finally, the final encounter. Okay, let's dive right into Section 1, from militant to mastermind. To really understand our target, we actually have to rewind back to the 1980s, far away from the Kashmir Valley all the way to Bahawalpur, Pakistan. This is where we find an ordinary boy named Rana Tahir Nadeem. He headed over to Afghanistan, joined up with the Mujahideen fighters, and completely mastered the brutal art of guerrilla warfare. We're talking learning to survive without food, fighting without mercy. But the crucial turning point came when he returned and became deputy to Maulana Masood Azhar. Following Azhar's 1994 arrest by Indian forces, Rana Tahir vowed to burn the valley to the ground to free his leader, and in doing so, he completely shed his old identity. The militant was gone, and the ruthless persona of Ghazi Baba was born. Now, his transition into a massive security threat was incredibly fast. Realizing he couldn't just fight the army head-on, he shifted his focus to high-profile psychological warfare. He formed Al-Faran specifically to kidnap foreign tourists to build international pressure. And when a few failed jailbreaks couldn't free his leader, he orchestrated what was basically his masterstroke, the 1999 hijack of Indian Airlines flight IC-814, which actually successfully forced the release of Masood Azhar. Rewarded with the role of commander-in-chief of the newly formed Jaish-e-Mohammed, he went on to pioneer Fidayeen, or suicide attacks. And all of this culminated in the horrific 2001 attack on the Indian parliament. This single act was so severe it brought two nuclear-armed nations right to the brink of war. Moving on to Section 2, escaping the radar. So you're probably wondering, how does a guy commanding a 300-strong terror army remain a total ghost? The top intelligence agencies in India were hunting him day and night, yet they just kept hitting dead ends. Well, he survived through extreme operational security. He used an inner circle of 4 foreign heavily armored bodyguards, Pakistani and Afghan fighters, specifically to prevent local informants from getting close. Plus, he gave his assassination and bombing orders strictly in one-on-one meetings, meaning if a lower-level operative was somehow caught, they literally had no actionable intel to give up. On top of that, he ran 3 mobile training camps in the dense Palgam forests, all kept tightly within a 1-kilometer radius, constantly shifting around. Oh, and his financing? Heavily layered through insanely complex Hawala networks in Dubai. But, he wasn't invincible. Intelligence actually almost had him in July 2001. The Special Operations Group found a supplier who delivered food to Ghazi Baba's hideout. The plan was pretty clever. Lace the food supplies with heavy sedatives and simply arrest him while he slept. The assault team was all geared up and ready. But just hours before the raid went down, a mole inside the system tipped him off. By the time forces arrived, Ghazi Baba was completely gone. And honestly, this narrow escape emboldened him, leading directly to that horrific parliament attack just 5 months later. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is Section 3, cracking the intelligence network. See, the ultimate breakthrough didn't come from some crazy high-tech surveillance. It came from going all the way back to the captured bomber we met at the very beginning of this explainer, Ansar. At first, Ansar flat out refused to speak. He was fully prepared to endure beatings. But an experienced police officer decided to play good cop. He put an arm around Ansar, explained that his handlers just viewed him as a disposable pawn, and offered this brainwashed kid a respectable job in the police force instead. And believe it or not, it worked. Ansar revealed a vital secret. He said he communicated with his boss via wireless radio twice a day, exactly at 9:30 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. Ansar's code was 08, his boss's code was 39. The BSF operators instantly recognized code 39. It was the exact same voice that always gloated over the radio whenever a soldier was killed. They finally had a direct line to Ghazi Baba. So, at exactly 3:30 p.m., under strict orders from Commandant N.N. Dubey, Ansar turns on the radio. The entire team is holding its breath, but Ghazi Baba is just too cunning. He isn't talking to Ansar, he's broadcasting to another commander entirely. And the transmission crackles through. 08 is missing, shift base. The tension in that room absolutely skyrockets. Ghazi Baba knows his pawn is caught. The trail is going completely cold again. But then, in a desperate bid to prove his newfound loyalty to the police, Ansar blurts out one last crucial detail. He tells them he knows a local carpenter who builds secret walled-off hideouts for the terror group. Which brings us to the climax. Section 4. The final encounter. The BSF wasted absolutely no time. They grabbed the safe-house carpenter, and Commandant Dubey interrogated him in an unmarked civilian car until his memory suddenly cleared up. He pointed out a specific 3-story house right in the densely populated Noorbag area of Srinagar. It's August 30th, 2003, 4 a.m. Commandant Dubey is leading a highly trained assault team of 9 BSF commandos. The whole area is quietly sealed off to protect the civilians. But in the pre-dawn darkness, just looking at the houses, Dubey's intuition is screaming at him that something is wrong. He grabs the carpenter. The terrified man looks again, gets super confused, and finally points his shaking finger at a completely different house, 2 doors down. And right at that exact second, a light flickers on and immediately off on the 3rd floor of that new building. The hunt is officially on. So the commandos quietly breach the house. They sweep the ground floor, then the 1st, then the 2nd. Nothing. But when they reach this seemingly normal room on the 3rd floor, complete with wall-to-wall carpeting and a large dressing table mirror, they paused. And this brilliantly illustrates the tactical awareness of these teams. By quickly calculating the external structure of the house against the internal usable space of the room they were standing in, they realized the math didn't add up. The room was artificially shallow. Dragged upstairs, the weeping carpenter confirms it, pointing directly at that dressing table. Because there is no wall behind that mirror. It's concealing a hidden room. And inside that tight, suffocating space, Ghazi Baba isn't just hiding blindly. He's actually staring at a high-tech TV screen displaying live CCTV feeds of the perimeter. He knows exactly who is standing right outside that mirror. He knows death is literally at the door. Acting instantly, BSF officer Banu Chandran steps forward and violently kicks the dressing table mirror with his combat boot. The glass shatters, and the very moment it breaks, a blind, deafening storm of AK-47 fire erupts from inside the hidden room. Tragically, the commando at the very front is struck directly in the chest, killed instantly in the line of duty. From there, this extreme close-quarters combat spirals into utter chaos. From inside the hidden void, a high-explosive hand grenade is thrown out. The concussive blast is absolutely devastating. Another officer loses his hand entirely. Commandant Dubey takes severe shrapnel damage. His right hand goes completely numb and paralyzed, bleeding heavily. Knocked all the way to the floor, Dubey incredibly manages to grab his service weapon with his uninjured left hand and unleashes 14 rounds of suppressive fire, right back through that shattered frame, which gives his team just enough cover to pull him to safety. Now, what followed wasn't just some quick skirmish. It was a brutal, relentless siege. For 10 grueling hours, heavy gunfire completely tore through the neighborhood. The terrorists fought not to escape, because honestly, that was impossible, but just to inflict maximum casualties. And the engagement was so intense that the sheer volume of continuous return fire from the paramilitary forces outside actually fundamentally compromised the structural integrity of the hidden room itself. Finally, when the smoke cleared and officers stepped through the rubble with their weapons drawn, they found Ghazi Baba alongside his fiercely loyal guards. The mastermind behind the parliament attack, the figure who had evaded the agencies for years and years, had finally met his end in his own trap. The operation completely broke the network, but it exacted a very heavy toll. BSF Juan Belbir Singh was killed in action and 8 others were severely wounded. For his incredible leadership and resilience under fire, Commandant N.N. Dupi was awarded the Kirti Chakra. Operation Ghazi Baba shattered the spine of the Jaish network in Kashmir at that time. It proves that no matter how complex the operational security is, human intelligence and sheer tactical bravery can break it. But it also leaves us with a pretty stark reality to ponder. Taking out a leader of this magnitude disrupts the network, absolutely. But as we look at the complex landscape of counterterrorism today, when a mastermind like this falls, how long does it really take for that vacuum to be filled? Thank you for exploring this intense chapter of history with me in this explainer. Keep questioning,